Control everything, own nothing. That is the goal. When we're poor, what we want to do is say, this is in my name, that's in my name. That's what we into. When we're poor, we want to be able to have the right to say, I got this in my name. You know why? Because when you living in someone's house, they make you feel uncomfortable. You be a grown person and they still giving you some kind of curfew and rules. And sometimes people don't really want you in the house, so they do things that make you feel uncomfortable to kind of impel you to leave. Hopefully you get the point before the truth really comes out about how they feel about you. And so it comes a time when you like, man, you just want to be able to say, man, I got this house and it's in my name finally. Or I got this apartment and it's in my name finally. And what that does is gets you into mortgages that you can't afford. And we know that you can't afford the mortgages. They know you can't afford the mortgages. You get excited, hey, I got approved for the loan. And you got to turn around and say to yourself, man, who the hell will approve me for a loan in the hundreds of thousands of dollars? I don't even make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. And think about it, and they selling houses for $400,000 in the hood where people don't make even $50,000 a year. So first we got to properly contextualize this whole thing. Poverty, let's do this. Poverty for a family of four begins at $32,000 a year, and for an individual, $15,000 a year. Wealth begins at $150,000 a year. We have to do this. This is requisite to what I have to say. So poverty begins for a family of four at $32,000 a year, which is insane. You break that up into four, that's crazy. It's less than the $15,000 a year for the poverty standard for an individual. You see how weird and tricky these numbers are in the first place? Poverty, according to Standard & Poor's, according to any economical index, poverty begins at $32,000 a year for a family of four, relatively, and $15,000 a year for an individual. Whilst at the same time, wealth begins at $150,000 a year. Why is this important? Wealth begins at $150,000 a year. It is also stipulated that you should be able to invest 1/3 of your annual. So you're not wealthy unless you can invest at least $50,000 a year. And what this really means, when we contextualize it, what this really means is that you're supposed to be able to invest $50,000 without fear of making or losing. Of course you want to make. But if you lost the whole 50, that 100 grand should not compromise the integrity of your living. With the only exception being if your income to expense ratio is totally disproportionate. And what that means is, I used to have a conversation with my aunt that passed away. She used to work for dialysis. And I used to tell her, I know I make more money than you. She said, you dropped out of school. No way you making more money than me. You dropped out of school. And I used to say, Auntie Vaughn. She said, Auntie, every time you get a raise, you raise the price of your car, you raise the price of your home. So the disposable money that you have left over, I know I have more than that. Because my income to expense ratio isn't as disproportionate as yours. So sure, you may have been making more money than me at that time, but I have more money left week to week than you do. So if your income and expense ratio isn't a contradiction, isn't disproportionate, then $150,000 a year suffice. And there's only 5% of people in America, only 5% of Americans are in the realm of wealth. 5% of Americans have wealth. Because 5% of Americans make at least $150,000 a year and are able to invest 1/3 of their income comfortably without compromising the integrity of their living situation. Okay? This is important information. So, first thing is we got to get over the hump and get to $150,000 a year, and then we got to understand, how do we know when our income to expense ratio is disproportionate? We want you to be able to live above your means and be able to invest at the same time. That's what wealth is. Prior to that, you need to learn how to live below your means. That's the issue. Many of you think you're living bad and still are living above your means. You have things you have no right to have. based on the goals that you want to manifest. You see, if I say you have things you have no right to have, you'll say, man, this black mother effer, don't tell me I don't deserve this Benz that's sitting in front of my projects. So let me say it properly. You have things you have no right having per the goals you want to manifest. And the reason why you have to manifest them is because it's not a reality at this particular point. So you either manifest, right? You're either dealing with manifestation or man-infestation. Either you are doing something productive or you're doing something destructive. You either manifest or you are a man-infestation. Real talk. Real talk. You're spending more than you can afford. All right? So, let's keep that in mind. Some of you will spend dimes while you earn nickels. That's the issue. Sometimes the discipline of saving so much money can make you spend too much money the day you decide I'm going to spend a little bit. Because you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed. Okay? From never having. Now, only 5% out of the 100%, that's 95 other percent of people are just living probably in some form of hell. Only 5% of Americans are actually in a successful space. No one has a monopoly on success. Luckily for you. So there's room for more successful people. How about that? The problem is the disconnect amongst those who know and those they don't tell. 5% of America's population knows. And in that percentage is even lower if we talk about the black populace that are consistent with that 5% of people that actually have wealth per America's population. So those who know don't share the information nearly enough. So you say, Polight, is it really possible to teach people how to be rich? And I say yes. And every time I watch people teach people how to be rich, I say we're missing some key things. Like, what do you do when you get rich? You provide a way, you create a tax shelter. You see, to teach you how to make money only is to put you in a handicap. So cash is king. But credit is definitely queen. And insurance and real estate, let's add that to it, is God. So know that you need all those variables. So what do we mean by needing all of those different variables? Very important. Well, first thing y'all need to do is understand this. There's credit card redlining. So what you need to understand is that credit bureaus and institutions and the likes cannot hinder you from getting a line of credit based on your race. They cannot disapprove you when it comes to credit because of your race. But what they can do is alienate certain zip codes. So they have a literal map called the redlining map, credit card redlining map, or the redlining map. And what they do, they draw a red line throughout the country. And they say anybody that's in these red zones, per this line drawn, it's going to be harder for them to get credit, or we're going to disapprove them. Because we're going to say anybody in those zip codes, most likely, can't pay their bills, are inconsistent, and most importantly, that annual income, meaning what you make year to year, annual. The annual income is less than $150,000 a year. So most likely those people are not even in a place where they can invest money safely to yield them returns where they can pay back any loan extended to them in the form of credit. Share this video. So, in one sense, they can't reject you because of your race when it comes to credit. But in another sense, they actually are, if they do it by the zip code, because most people in the zip code make up a certain demographic. So, and in fact, they are hindering you based on race or I should say demographic for the most part. Most cities have opportunities for you to at least receive mail or rent out an office address in the city hall area. You could do that. Or 2, you get a UPS mailing address because it's considered residential, not USPS, United States Post Office. No. Not the United States Postal Service. No. Listen to me carefully. You're going to get a UPS box because that comes up as though it's a residential address. Why will you do this? Well, you want it to look like your residency in a highly reputable community. One of which that's the annual income of $150,000 or more a year. This is why all this information ties in together. Now, if you're interested in my mentorship, because I got the sauce. Yes, my mentorship costs. Consultations, I body them. I give you a whole outline and detailing, and you good. We execute. Whatever you're looking to do. But I do charge $200 an hour, $300 an hour in person. It's a fact. And mentorship, I do charge a lot more than that. Because you're going to win. It's a fact. It's a guaranteed fact. Because for some reason, you think you don't need a coach when it comes to bread, when it comes to money, when it comes to fiat. And that's ridiculous. Anyone that ever succeeds. Singers have singing coaches. Boxers have trainers. Students have guidance counselors. Relationships call for therapy sometimes. You go to a therapist. Mental issues, psychologists, psychiatrists. But when it comes to this money, you think you're going to wing it and somehow make the bread. That's like, I'm just going to have sex with anybody under the pretense I'm not going to get a disease. We would like to believe like that. We actually walk around believing like this, thinking like this. Until you wind up sick. And in this particular case, until you can't get out of poverty because you practice too much bad habits because you don't got nobody giving you guidance. Go to brother, POLIGHT 45 at gmail.com if you're interested in the mentorship or consultation. Invest in yourself. Investing, because investing has to become synonymous with saving, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about that. Back to the credit. Do yourself a favor and see to it that you get you a UPS box. It's considered residential. And when you have it for about 3 months stretch, it's already going to impact your credit for the better good. Because you have to make sure, though, that that UPS box is in an area where people are making over $150,000 a year on average. So now you get the credit of being in a neighborhood that's making over $150,000 a year. So when you need a credit card to boost the amount of money that you can get, or when you need a loan, they'll look at you and say, you know what? You say, I'm in my preacher mode, but I'm telling you how to get this wealth. So when you get a loan, you gonna praise the Lord. Because instead of $500, you'll have 20 grand at your disposal. At this point, we get the heavy set woman with the big boobs that come on down here. And it'd be like an airbag on your face, almost break your damn neck. In the spirit of things. But remember, spiritualities, by definition, spiritualities, look it up. Spiritualities is the property acquired by the church or the revenue thereof that has been generated. Making money and buying property is considered spiritual. I don't make these things up. I read a lot. Look up the word spiritualities and realize they taught you a reverse agenda when it comes to being spiritual. You think I'm being spiritual because I'm putting money in the plate. No, they're being spiritual when they get the money in the plate because then they go and buy property or save the money up. Spiritualities is when you generate revenue or you embark upon the acquisition of real estate. I don't make the words up. Now you look it up. Spiritualities. Look up the word. Do it now. And say, oh, shoot. And then you wake up. What kind of spirituality I've been practicing? So the more houses you get, the more spiritual you are. The more money you make, the more spiritual you are. No, brother, that's not the spirit. God didn't break that. No, I'm talking contextually. I'm talking based on a colloquial meaning. I'm talking based on a dictionary reference. You speaking a language you don't even understand. So don't talk to me about what you would like the word to mean. I'm talking to you based on the language we're speaking. You're more spiritual. The more houses you get, the more money you make. And I'm using the language the right way. Don't tell me what you want these words to mean. I tell you what these words actually mean, and I tell you can look it up. That's what spirituality is, all right? And so we're talking about credit. We want you to set up the UPS box and get the credit for having some form of residency or placement in an area where people are wealthy. Again, wealth being only represented by 5% of the American populace. And those are the people whose income and expense ratio is not disproportionate, whilst at the same time, their annual is $150,000 upward. In contrast to the $32,000 a year for family of four in poverty, or for the $15,000 a year. Who the heck is making $15,000 a year for the individual? Get that right, because you want to nullify the credit card redlining. Credit is very important. Credit is queen. Very important. Sometimes you need an opportunity where you don't have to spend nothing because your creditability, right? Sometimes you need an opportunity where you could just, you know what, I need this particular asset, but damn, it'd be nice if I don't have to put no money on it to the next year or for a few months from now. Or maybe if I could just put a little bit of money at a time because my credit's so good, they can make some concessions onto me. Which takes us into the next thing. Remember when 50 Cent had to do the bankruptcy? What did he file? Most people file Chapter 7 as individuals. He filed the Chapter 11, something that most businesses do. Interesting. And that's when you come to terms with different types of debt, because normally if you have unsecured debt that goes just a little below $337,000, or secured debt at $1,010,000 upward, you file a Chapter 11. Well, what's so significant about it? Well, what you're basically saying is that your money's tied up. And that's part of the protection for smart people, and not just smart people. I say smart. Smart is the ability to learn something and commit it to memory. Intelligent is the ability to learn something, commit it to memory, and the output is way more than the input. So in other words, and this is my persuasion, keep this in mind, 2 + 2 = 4. If my child says 2 + 2 = 4, then I know my child is smart. If I ask her that again next week and she still got it, then I know she's smart. If she then says, well, 2 + 2 = 4, then 4 - 2 = 2. And if that's the case, then 2 × 2 also equals 4, and 2 to the second power equals 4. I say, God damn, baby, you are intelligent. You took one thing, one input, and you made it the output of 3 or 4 other things. So I truly know you understand what's going on. Because now we at the aspect of comprehension, or making knowledge born, as some would say, or the application of knowledge is wisdom. So I know you're wise because you was able to make the knowledge applicable, and that's what I need y'all to do. Take this information and definitively conclude, well, you know what, if this is true, then that may also be true, or must be true. So another thing you want to do credit-wise is make sure you get at least 2 different credit cards, depending on how much money you're making. If you're making over $150,000 a year, then you could be in the clear to get more than 2 credit cards. If you're making less than $150,000 a year, I wouldn't suggest you get no more than 2 credit cards. You actually need at least 2. And make sure that one of the credit cards has a balance transfer option. That means that you shouldn't spend more than 15% of what they give you. And that is the nuance. So let's say the credit card company gives you a $1,000 spending limit. Then that means you should only spend no more than $150. But let's say you spend $200 out of the $1,000 limit. Then you should transfer the excess 50 or more into the other credit card. And just by doing that, the credit bureaus will boost your credit in time for being a smart consumer, because they'll understand that not only do you understand the constraint, but you know what to do when you go above the constraint. That's why you only want the second credit card for balance transfer option whenever you go over the criteria that you've just been told. The criteria is not to spend more than 15% of the allotted credit. So never spend more than $150. But I know that's annoying, because if I got $1,000, you telling me I only can spend $150? You telling me if I got $5,000, I can only spend $750? Yep. So you say, yo, I got $5,000 spending limit. Yo, fam, I'm just make sure I don't spend no more than half of it. I'm not going to spend more than $2,500. That's what we do. And then we wind up a little with the $3,000. Then after a while, the shit maxed out. Somehow we wind up with more than $5,000. The shit only go up to $5,000. Listen, it get ugly when we get a hold of that bread, because it's like, it's calling you every day. All of that is a lie. If you get a $5,000 credit card limit, you're not supposed to spend more than $750. And if you spend over $750 from the $5,000 spending limit, then you're over 15%. You need to transfer the excess funds to the second credit card. And that's why you need to ask for credit cards to have a balance transfer option. If you're having a problem getting credit cards, then what you need to do is get a secured credit card. You can get it from Chase, you can get it from Wells Fargo, you can get it Bank of America, you can get any of them criminals, you can get it. And what you'll do is you'll use your own money to establish credit, and then at the allotted time, normally 6 months or a year, they'll turn that money into real credit and send you back your own cash. So the goal is, over time, to add more of your personal money to it, because it looks better if you're approved for a higher spending limit. So if you can save up your money to get to the point of being having $3,000 worth in credit, because you put up your own money into that card. So you can start off with a $500 credit. But the thing is, you don't want to get to the 6-month part where they turn your money into credit and you get a $500 credit limit. This is your opportunity to give yourself the amount of credit that they wouldn't give you, because it'll look good if your first credit card officially was a $5,000 credit card. You can create how much money that card will give you, and then they'll give it back to you once it becomes a credit card, officially, not funded by your money. So that's strategy. So you want to save up your money. You don't want to put a $500 amount on the credit card and then turn around later on and say, hey, yes, I got approved after 6 months. It's officially a credit card. They gave me back my $500. Okay, now, okay, you got a credit card with a $500 limit. Credit bureau's going to be like, man, I ain't messing with him. I don't give a hell if he's in the neighborhood at $150,000 a year or more. Why the hell does this person only have $500 on their credit limit, but they live in a neighborhood that gives them $150,000? They live in a neighborhood where the average income is $150,000, but they only have a $500 limit on their credit card? So you see how it works? Strategy. Strategy. I'm telling you 15%. Somebody's telling you 25%. Get on your stream and break it down, Holmes. I ain't mad at you. I'm telling you, keep yourself in that space. I'm telling you that. Safer is better. All right? But I'm not knocking you. You know something I probably don't know. And I don't mean that to be facetious. I'm telling you, whoever gives you the lower number, stick with that one. Because it's about strategy. Don't get the card and think you're not going to do nothing, because no activity will kill you on credit. You need activity. You need 2 cards. You get 3 cards, and this Negro's taking any card people give him. He's a whore. We can't trust him. Because the name of the game is, let's give him a card. Let's give him a card. Hey, you balling out. I got 5 credit cards. You're going to max them all out in due time. Watch me. Don't take more. Take 2. If you're making over $150,000 a year, chances are you'll have a black card anyway. And they'll expunge a lot of the craziness on your credit. Because normally when you're making $500,000 or more annual, and they can see that, they get rid of all your craziness to create a better opportunity for you to go broke again. It's true. This is absolutely fact. Anybody that's making over $500,000 or more a year, they'll tell you, oh yeah, that credit stuff is, you don't even need this credit strategy at that point. They want to get rid of all that old credit so they can give you new credit lines that are way more extensive, and the possibility that you would practice the same behavior when you had less money. I know what I'm talking about. Trust me. So that's the name of one of my books. But anyway, let's go. Let's keep moving. Credit is queen. Cash is dope. But when you want to get things done, you need credit. So now we're going to go back to that 50 Cent. He filed chapter 11 instead of chapter 7. But one of the main things about that is this. What's dope about that, what it says to me Because the conversation goes as follows. Well, you know what? I'm suing you. Oh, you're suing me. Well, you know what? Yeah, I'm considered a millionaire because that's what I'm worth. But I don't have my money in liquid. My money is tied up in investments. My money is tied up in assets. Most importantly, when you want to tie your money up for protection purposes, you tie it up in insurance and real estate. So you have people that can walk around here and say, you know what? You can sue me all you want, but I only got like $850 in my account. I'm like, nah, man. Polight, you worth over $3 million. Oh, no. And you know, people that, yo, you know, he really broke. I always say, yes, I am. You guys have way more money saved up than I do. Absolutely. And guess what? Someone being sued such as Fifth was like, yo, hold on. We got to put this thing into terms. I got different types of debts out there. I got my stuff in different assets. You know, my money's in different investments. You know what? That can't be touched like that. So what that did is bleed the person out that's suing them. You know why? Because if you suing somebody for a large amount of money, then you have to pay your legal fees, which also going to cost a large amount of money. If you say, look, I'm filing Chapter 11 and the judge approves, now the judge is going to give you about 6 months to figure that out. Then you got court. Then he's going to conclude for another 3 months or another 3 to 6 months. It'd be a whole year. This person, most likely, if they're suing someone way more wealthier than them, this is being done on the promise that the lawyers believe, you know what, we don't get paid till you get paid. And if that be the case, you bleeding the person out, then eventually that person will tap out and be like, yo, listen, man, you got to settle because pretty soon I'm going to owe the lawyers more money than I'm looking to sue you for. But anyway, that's a whole nother strategy. But I think it was pretty dope as far as strategy is concerned. But what I want to talk to you about is if you're looking to make money, you can't just get taught how to make money. You got to get taught how to protect the money. So what you do, you put it into assets that the equity can be drawn out of in the event of emergency. Because so long as it's in the asset, then it can't be taxed. For the most part. Not, at least not accessible and in the capacity that it can't be taxed if it was liquid. So the goal is to turn the liquid money, turn the liquid into hard assets. Another thing is to use the death benefit from insurance policies, particularly called whole life insurance, where you can access the monies while you're alive, not when you're dead. Because if it's in a death benefit, if you can access your death benefit, if you can borrow against your insurance policy, which is the terminology, borrow against. If you go borrow against your insurance policy, then you can defer taxes at the very least. Because so long as it's part of a death benefit, it can't be taxed right there. It's part of your insurance. But you can access it to purchase real estate or deal with something pertaining to health care or school, student loan, or whatever it is. Yes. So you may have insurance not under the conventional sense that many people by convention get insurance. You may actually get an insurance policy for the purposes of building wealth and also protecting it. Cash is king. True. But we all know the most important piece on the board is the queen. So a lot of people know how to play chess. And they hype. But I'm like, fam, if life was the game of chess, why are you playing it on a checkers board? Just because you got chess pieces. Just because you got chess pieces don't mean you can play on any board with them. You playing chess on a checkers board. Facts. You playing chess on a checkers board. And that don't mean you playing chess. But understand, the goal is to protect the queen. The goal is to protect your credit. And what I mean by protect your credit, I mean to protect your name. Because credit will have you to the point you don't want your name mentioned. You go to Walmart, hey, you want to try this Walmart card? You can save. Then they type your name in. Yeah. Like, yo, your name on fire. Word is, you owe the banks. You owe the cars. You owe a mortgage. You can't even get a Walmart card. You go to T-Mobile. You want to see if you can apply for one of our credit cards? And you see every time you apply for one of those cards, they do a credit check, it affects your credit. People like, yo, I'm looking for a job. Yo, I know I ain't lazy. I just went and I checked 20 different jobs. So you got your credit probably checked 17 different times. If your credit gets checked 17 different times in 1 week, your credit score is going to plummet. No matter how good you think you are. I don't owe nothing. I don't know why my credit is not going nowhere. I don't know why my credit is going down. What the hell am I doing? You applying for jobs. So now people will say, you shouldn't apply for jobs? You got to ask them, yo, you need to go for your printout. An updated printout. Yo, you need this updated printout? Or what do you need? I can send you a PDF, a carbon copy. I could carve a copy of my email if you need to check my credit. You got to ask these things. Because what good is it if you don't get the job and the job is causing you injury? It'll form a credit. The purpose of the job is for upliftment, not injury. So you got to ask them, are y'all doing credit checks? Which most jobs are doing now. And it's part of the system to destroy us. Because the name of the game is to really apply for a job that you definitely know you qualify for. You're not underqualified, you're not overqualified. But again, they don't teach us this stuff when how do you apply for a job where you know the probability of you getting a job, you're going to get a job? No, you know what we do? We apply for any damn thing because we just need to make some money and we need money now. We're not really in the position where we say, man, I'm applying for a job that I know most likely I'm going to get, where they don't do the damn credit check because the fact that you're applying for that type of job, there's no need for that. They just need to see how you match up compared to the other resumes. But only in the hood. Where we got to apply for a job, they want to be in our credit. It is designed that way to destroy your credit and not give you the damn job.